So, today we're playing some more Second Assault, and this time it's Gulf of Oman. Now, just like Caspian Border, this is a map I often didn't play in Battlefield 3, mainly just down to its huge size, because being a player who does prefer close quarters infantry combat, these big maps were often lost on me. Now, just like Caspian Border 2014, I'm prepared now to give this map, this new iteration, a much better chance. Now, all of the gameplay you see throughout this video is actually Team Deathmatch, because just like I said in my last video, TDM does actually work really well on some of these Second Assault maps, so hopefully in a few weeks time when Second Assault isn't the latest brand new shiny DLC, we will still see some servers putting Team Deathmatch in rotation on these maps. Now, out of all the maps to make a return in Second Assault, Gulf of Oman was the one that initially annoyed me the most. Now, overall, Second Assault was to be expected. It was something we saw with Battlefield 3. Back to Khartoum was the very first DLC for that game, and we saw 4 of the most popular maps from Battlefield 2. And I can probably tell you now, it's going to be something we're going to see with Battlefield 5. We'll see a DLC that brings back 4 of the most popular maps from Battlefield 4, because it's a very simple DLC to make for DICE, and it's always going to be a moneymaker for EA. So I think we're going to have to get used to seeing these flashback DLCs brought back with practically every game that comes out. Now, the problem with Gulf of Oman was this wasn't a Battlefield 3 map. Now, I've discussed this with you guys before, but there are so many good Battlefield 3 maps, maybe from the base game, maybe from DLCs like Aftermath or Close Quarters, that should have replaced this map, because we paid for this map once in Battlefield 2, we then paid for it in Back to Khartoum, and now we paid for it a third time with Second Assault. So, at first, this map really did annoy me to see this on the list of returning maps. But with all that said, when I got a chance to play Second Assault at the EA headquarters, Gulf of Oman had been improved massively, and it probably does have not only one of the best Levolutions in Second Assault, but the entire Battlefield 4 game. Now, Levolution, the whole idea of this aspect is to evolve the way the map is played, and it does work on certain maps, but I do think on maps like Zabod 311, once you've destroyed that large tower, it actually has very little effect on how the map evolves or how the map is played. Unless you're fighting very locally to that tower when it collapses, it'll have very little effect on your experience at all. Whilst of course this very large sandstorm that sweeps in across the entire of the Gulf of Oman has a very big effect on how this map is played. Your lines of sight are massively reduced, it makes sniper positions practically useless if they're high up and far away. You have to be very close to your enemy to take them out, and it does have a real effect on how the game is played. The gameplay slows down, you have to be very careful, watching your minimap a lot more, so I do think this as a Levolution event is probably one of the best we've seen in Battlefield 4 so far. So with Naval Strike just around the corner, as I've told you guys before, we now know that premium members will get access to this DLC towards the end of March. And we also know that these DLCs always come out on a Tuesday, so that means we'll either get access to this on the 18th or the 25th of March. So either way, just under or just over a month away now, so very, very close. But hopefully with this DLC, we won't see the same issues we saw with China Rising. Of course, we found out in hindsight that DLC was probably a little bit rushed. The Levolution was never completed or included with that DLC, so hopefully Naval Strike will be a lot more rounded and completed as we see with Second Assault. Now, if you remember back, EA told us that all of these DLCs were only going to be released when the game was complete. Now, we all know that with every patch that comes out, some issues are fixed, but other issues are created. So, it is interesting that all of these DLCs are still being churned out, even though we know the game is still not complete or fixed yet. And with every DLC that does come out, more issues do seem to be created, so DICE are just making more work for themselves. With the latest DLC, I don't know if any of you guys have experienced this as well, but with every jet I try and take off in, I just can't leave the ground. Be it Operation Firestorm, Gulf of Oman or Caspian Border, my plane is stuck to the ground, and I'm not the only one to experience this. I've seen the likes of Jack Frags just today tweeting that he is having the same issue, so again it looks like we're getting more problems with the game with every DLC that's released. But with all that said, I am feeling positive about Naval Strike. From what we have seen and heard so far, it does look very exciting. The only thing that does worry me slightly is the fact that Titan mode, of course now named Carrier Assault mode, is only going to be available to maps with a lot of water space, so probably only Naval Strike. And being a game mode that's very popular in previous Battlefield titles, I think it will be a shame to see this game mode restricted to only certain maps in the game. But with all that said, I will be covering Naval Strike heavily on my channel, so stay tuned for all of that. And very soon I am thinking about purchasing a TeamSpeak or a Mumble so I can play with my subscribers. I will be tweeting out maybe a certain day of the week, maybe on a Saturday for 2 or 3 hours, that I will be tweeting out all of the TeamSpeak or Mumble details so you can jump on, hang out with me, play some Battlefield, and maybe get yourself featured in a video. So if you would like a chance to do that, don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Facebook. The links are in the description below. But that's all I've got time for today, guys, so I hope you did enjoy the video. If you did, all your likes and comments are massively appreciated, and they do really help me out. But in the meantime, guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.